The soldier woke with a sharp breath. His eyes snapped open, but the world around him was dark, too dark. He tried to move, but his muscles ached as if he had fought 10 wars in one night. The scent of smoke and metal still clung to him. His ears rang faintly, like the battlefield was still echoing inside his skull. He shifted, trying to rise, and felt the cold surface beneath him. It wasn't the ground. It was smooth, curved, almost like glass. His hand touched strange carvings, lines glowing faintly with blue light. He realized he was not in any human camp. This was alien. A place he had never seen before. And then it happened. A soft breath touched his ear. A whisper, "Are you my new master?" The words froze him. His body stiffened, and he turned his head slowly. At first, he saw nothing but the darkness. But then, in the faint glow of the walls, a figure appeared beside him. Small, fragile, kneeling, a girl. Not human. Her skin glowed faint silver under the dim light. Her long hair spilled like liquid shadows across her shoulders. She knelt close to him, her hands resting on the floor, and chains rattled softly as she moved. Her eyes, wide and glowing faintly violet, stared at him as if he was the only light she had ever seen. The soldier's throat went dry. He whispered back, almost against his will, Who are you?" Her lips trembled, but she spoke again, her voice gentle, broken. "They told me. You are my new master. Are you?" The word master struck him like a blade. He pulled back, confused, his heart pounding. His training screamed at him, "Stay alert, stay calm, stay alive." But this was no enemy soldier, no weapon, no beast. This was a girl, bound in chains, given to him for reasons he could not yet understand. He sat up, fighting the pain in his ribs, his eyes never leaving her. "Why are you here?" he asked. Her head lowered, hair covering her face. "Because they said I am your reward for surviving." His chest tightened. Reward? He remembered the battle. He remembered blood, explosions, the burning alien city. He remembered his commander's last words before he collapsed into unconsciousness. "You'll get what you deserve, soldier." And now this was it? This girl? The soldier clenched his fists. "I don't want a reward," he muttered. "Especially not a person." The girl flinched at his tone. Her chains rattled as she lifted her face again. "You don't want me?" He swallowed hard. Her eyes shimmered with something more than light. Fear, desperation, something he couldn't name. The soldier dragged himself to his feet, ignoring the pain. He took a step back, needing distance, but the girl crawled forward. The sound of her chains sharpened the silence. "Please," she whispered. "Don't leave me in the dark. Don't reject me. If you send me away, they will kill me." Her words struck deep. She wasn't lying. He could see it in her trembling hands, hear it in her breaking voice. She wasn't just given to him. She was discarded, like a burden no one wanted to carry. The soldier cursed under his breath. He wanted to walk away. He wanted to refuse her, to break the chains and let her go free. But his instincts told him something else. If he freed her here, in this place, she wouldn't survive. Someone or something wanted her dead. He crouched, lowering himself to her level, his eyes searching hers. "What are you?" he asked quietly. The girl tilted her head. For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. It wasn't joy, it was sadness. "I am a curse," she said. "That's why they gave me to you." The soldier's blood ran cold. Before he could ask more, the walls around them shuddered. A deep rumble echoed through the chamber. The blue carvings on the walls flared brighter, like veins of light pulsing through stone. The girl gasped and pressed herself against him, clutching his arm tightly with both chained hands. "They're coming," she whispered urgently. "The ones who don't want me alive. If you are my master, you must protect me." The soldier's heart pounded. He had just woken from battle, broken and tired. But now a new fight was calling him. He stared at the trembling alien girl clinging to him, her eyes wide with terror, her body shaking. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. He only knew one thing: she was tied to him now, whether he wanted it or not. The rumbling grew louder. Shadows moved in the corners of the chamber. Figures were approaching. The soldier clenched his jaw and grabbed the nearest shard of metal from the floor, holding it like a blade. His breath steadied, his training taking over, but the girl's whisper returned, soft against his ear, just before the chamber doors cracked open. "Master, will you keep me alive?" The soldier's eyes narrowed as the first shadow stepped inside. His grip tightened. His heart thundered, and for the first time since waking, he realized this was only the beginning. The chamber doors groaned open, and the soldier's grip on the jagged shard tightened. His breathing slowed, calm but sharp, as figures stepped into the dim light. Their silhouettes moved like hunters, long weapons in their hands, faces hidden by alien masks. The girl clung to his arm, her voice trembling. "They are not here for you. They are here for me." Her chains rattled as she tried to pull back, but the soldier held her steady. His mind raced. He had just fought a war, just barely survived. Why was he being forced into another battle, with nothing but a broken piece of metal in his hand and a chained alien girl at his side? The first of the masked hunters raised his weapon. The soldier reacted without thought. He lunged forward, swinging the shard in a wide arc. The strike cut across the mask, sparks flying as the alien stumbled back with a snarl. The others hissed and stepped closer. The soldier grabbed the girl by her wrist and pulled her behind him. His voice was low, harsh, full of command. "Stay behind me. Don't move." But the girl shook her head. Her violet eyes glowed faintly as her lips parted in a whisper. The air around her shimmered like heat rising from fire. The shadows along the walls seemed to tremble at her voice. The hunters hesitated that the soldier saw it. Fear flickered in their stance. They weren't afraid of him. They were afraid of her. "What are you doing?" he demanded, glancing at the girl. Her voice was soft, like broken glass. "Using the curse to keep them away. But it won't last long. My body can't handle it." The soldier's mind froze for a second. This was the reason she was given to him as a reward. She was dangerous not because of strength, but because she was fragile. She carried something inside her that even her own people hated and feared. And now she was his problem. The hunters hissed in their strange language, retreating slowly into the shadows. The door closed again, sealing the chamber. The girl collapsed to her knees, her breath ragged. The light in her eyes dimmed. Chains clinked as her hands trembled. The soldier crouched, grabbing her shoulders firmly. "Hey, stay awake." "What was that? What did you do?" Her lips curled in a faint, bitter smile. "They gave me to you because I'm poison to them. My power kills those who try to use me. I was not meant to live long, only to be thrown away." The soldier stared at her, chest tightening. He hated how her words sounded too familiar. Soldiers were the same. Tools of war. Used, then forgotten. He saw it in her eyes. She was like him, but still, he shook his head. "You're not a reward," he muttered. "You're a trap." She flinched at his words. Her chains rattled as she looked down, her voice breaking. "Then, will you throw me away too, master?" Silence stretched between them. The soldier's jaw clenched. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to cut the chains and leave her. But he couldn't. Something deep in his gut wouldn't let him. He stood and pulled her to her feet. "Don't call me master," he said. "If you stay with me, you'll follow my rules. Understand?" Her eyes widened, shimmering with something like hope. She nodded quickly, too quickly, as if afraid he would change his mind. "Yes, I understand." The soldier walked toward the wall, running his hand across the glowing carvings. He needed to find a way out. But the girl stayed close behind him, never letting go of his arm. He sighed. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then whispered softly. "My people call me Lyra." The soldier repeated it under his breath. Lyra. For the first time since waking, the chamber felt less empty. But danger still hung in the air. The hunters would return. And when they did, they wouldn't hesitate again. He glanced back at her. She was staring at him, her violet eyes locked on his face. She didn't look afraid anymore. She looked devoted. That unsettled him even more than her powers. The soldier finally spoke, his tone sharp but steady. "If they want you dead, then you're safer with me. But remember this. You're not my reward. You're my responsibility." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile, but she said nothing. She only leaned closer, whispering so quietly that he almost didn't hear. "Then I will stay by your side. Until the day I die." The soldier's grip tightened on the shard of metal. He didn't like the sound of those words. Not at all. And as the chamber rumbled again in the distance, he knew their fight was far from over. The soldier and Lyra moved deeper into the strange alien structure. The glowing lines on the walls pulsed like a heartbeat, guiding them down narrow corridors. Every step echoed, sharp and hollow, as if the place itself was watching. The soldier kept the shard of metal ready in his hand. He didn't trust this place. He didn't trust her either. But something inside him whispered, if he abandoned her, he would regret it. Lyra followed closely, the chains on her wrists dragging softly along the floor. Her violet eyes never left him, as if every breath she took depended on his next move. Finally, the soldier stopped. He pressed his palm against a wall that glowed brighter under his touch. His voice was low. "Where are we? What is this place?" Lyra tilted her head, her silver hair sliding over her shoulders. "This is a prison. Not for me, but for what lives inside me. They built it to hold the curse." The soldier frowned. "Inside you?" Her lips parted, and for the first time, her voice trembled in fear, not devotion. "Yes, when I was born, shadows followed me. They whispered in my head. They gave me power. But they also gave me nightmares. My people chained me, tried to bury me. But no matter what they did, the whispers always returned." The soldier studied her. He didn't want to believe her. But he remembered the hunters, how they froze when her eyes glowed. How shadows bent to her will. "What do the whispers say?" he asked. Her gaze met his. For a moment, she looked almost human. "They tell me to destroy. To consume. To turn light into darkness." She lowered her head. "That is why they fear me. That is why. They gave me to you." The soldier's grip on the shard tightened. He should have walked away. A cursed girl, with shadows in her blood, was no ally. But still, she looked so fragile. Like a child carrying a weapon too heavy for her hands. Before he could answer, the corridor trembled. A faint hiss spread through the walls, like thousands of voices whispering at once. Lyra stiffened. "They know I'm awake." The soldier glanced around sharply. "Who?" She grabbed his arm with her chained hands. Her eyes burned violet. The shadows, the lights on the walls flickered. Shapes stretched along the stone, twisting unnaturally. Dark hands formed from the corners, reaching toward them. The soldier cursed and swung his shard, cutting through one of the shadowy arms. It dissolved into smoke, but two more replaced it. "Move!" he barked, pulling Lyra with him. They ran through the corridor, the chains clattering, the whispers growing louder. The shadows clawed at the walls, reaching, pulling, trying to drag them into the dark. Lyra stumbled, her chains tangling her legs. She cried out and fell. The soldier spun, cutting another shadow hand before it reached her. He grabbed her under the arms and lifted her back to her feet. Stay with me. He growled. Her breath shook. I can't. They're calling me. Her eyes glowed brighter, and the soldier realized the shadows weren't attacking her. They were answering her. They wanted her. Fight it, Lyra. He shouted. She clutched her head, whispering through clenched teeth. They want me to obey. They want me to kill you. The soldier froze for a moment. Her body shook violently, violet light blazing from her skin. He raised his shard, ready to defend himself if she turned on him. But then, she collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her glowing face. Help me, she whispered, please. Make the voices stop. The soldier dropped the shard, grabbed her face with both hands, and forced her to look at him. His voice cut through the chaos like steel. You're not a curse. You're not theirs. You're mine now. Do you understand? Her wide eyes locked on his. The whispers around them faltered as if stunned by his words. The shadows froze, retreating slowly into the walls. The corridor grew silent. Only the soldier's heavy breathing and Lyra's soft sobs remained. She trembled against him, her chains rattling as she leaned into his chest. You silenced them, she whispered. No one has ever done that before. The soldier's jaw tightened. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man standing on the edge of something he couldn't control. But he held her close anyway, even as unease clawed at his mind, because deep down, he knew the whispers were not gone. They were only waiting. The corridor finally fell silent. Only the soldier's heartbeat thundered in his chest. He still held Lyra against him, her chains cold and heavy against his arm. She was trembling, but the glow in her eyes had faded. For now, the whispers were gone. The soldier let out a slow breath and stepped back. His grip tightened around the shard in his hand as he looked down at her. You can't keep fighting like this with chains on, he muttered. They'll drag you down before the enemy does. Lyra blinked at him, her voice weak. The chains are not just iron. They are part of the curse. My people made them to keep the shadows inside me. The soldier studied the glowing marks etched into the cuffs around her wrists. They pulsed faintly, like veins carrying light. A prison within a prison. He understood now. These weren't ordinary bindings. They were locks, not only on her body but on her very soul. Then why do you still wear them? He asked. Her eyes fell to the floor. Because if they break, I don't know what I will become. The soldier's jaw tightened. He had fought enough wars to know that shackles never saved anyone. They only made the prisoner weaker. And yet, as he stared at the glowing chains, doubt stirred in his chest. What if she was right? What if breaking them would unleash something worse than the hunters? Before he could answer, a sound echoed down the hall, metal boots striking stone. The hunters were returning. Lyra stiffened. They're coming back. Stronger this time, the soldier cursed under his breath. He grabbed the chains around her wrists and pulled hard, testing their strength. They didn't budge. Listen to me, he said sharply. If we're going to survive, you can't fight half-bound like this. Either I cut these chains, or we both die. Her eyes widened in fear. No. If you free me, the shadows will not stop. They will pour out of me. And they may take you too. The boots grew louder. The hunters were close. The soldier's decision was already made. He raised the jagged shard, its edge catching the faint blue glow of the walls. Then I'll take that risk. With a single hard strike, the shard cracked against the first cuff. Sparks flew. The glowing veins flickered, then snapped. The chain fell, clattering onto the stone floor. Lyra gasped, clutching her freed wrist. Her body shook as violet light spread across her skin, pulsing like fire. Her eyes blazed brighter than ever before. The soldier didn't hesitate. He raised the shard again and struck the second cuff. It shattered, releasing another surge of light. The last chain hit the ground, broken, for a heartbeat. Silence. Then the air exploded. The shadows burst from the walls, swirling around them like a storm. The whispers returned, louder than ever, filling the soldier's skull. His knees almost buckled under the weight of it. Lyra stood at the center of the chaos, no longer trembling. Her chains were gone, and her power surged like a flood. Her silver hair whipped wildly in the air, her eyes glowing with unnatural fire. The soldier gritted his teeth, stepping back. He had freed her, but had he made a mistake? The hunters appeared at the end of the corridor. They froze at the sight before them. For the first time, they didn't advance. They hesitated, their weapons lowering slightly. Fear spread among them. Lyra raised her hand, and the shadows obeyed. Dark tendrils lashed out, slamming into the hunters and dragging them screaming into the walls. Their weapons clattered uselessly to the ground as the shadows swallowed them whole. The soldier could only watch, his breath caught in his throat. The girl who once knelt beside him, fragile and afraid, was now something else, something terrifying. When the last hunter vanished into the dark, the corridor fell silent again. The whispers faded to a low murmur, circling Lyra like obedient wolves. She turned slowly, her eyes locking onto the soldier. For a moment, he didn't see fear or devotion in her gaze. He saw something deeper, something darker. Then, her voice broke the silence. "Now you see. Master, without chains, I am not just a girl. I am the curse itself." The soldier tightened his grip on the shard. His heart hammered. He had freed her to save them both. But now he wasn't sure if she was his ally or his enemy. And as the violet glow of her eyes burned brighter in the darkness, he realized one thing: this was no reward, that it was a test. The soldier's boots echoed across the stone floor as he led Lyra out of the cursed corridor. The chains she once wore lay shattered behind them, but he couldn't shake the weight of what he had done. He had freed her. He had unleashed something the hunters feared more than death itself. And now, she followed him closely, her violet eyes glowing faintly, her voice soft. "You broke my chains. No one else ever dared. That means you are mine. And I am yours." The soldier clenched his jaw, saying nothing. Her words disturbed him, but her presence disturbed him more. Every time she breathed, the shadows around them seemed to bend closer. He couldn't tell if they were protecting him or circling him like prey. At last, they reached the outside. The alien sky stretched above, painted in dark red clouds and streaks of lightning. The soldier squinted against the harsh light. And there, waiting for him, stood his own unit, human soldiers, armored, rifles raised. He froze. Their leader, Captain Joran, stepped forward. His voice was sharp. "Soldier, step away from her. Now." The soldier's grip tightened on the shard in his hand. He glanced at Lyra. Her glow flickered like fire at the edge of control. "What's going on?" he asked. Joran's eyes narrowed. "She is not a prize. She's a weapon. Command gave her to you for one reason: to see if you'd kill her before she killed you. You weren't supposed to bring her back alive." The soldier's stomach twisted. The truth hit like a blade. This wasn't a reward. This was an execution wrapped in pretty lies. Behind Joran, the other soldiers tightened their aim, their rifles locking onto Lyra. She stiffened, whispering urgently to the one man she trusted. "Master, don't give me to them. If you do, they will tear me apart. Please." The soldier felt every eye on him, every rifle pointed. Sweat slid down his temple. His own brothers in arms, the men he had bled beside, now stood against him. Joran's voice cut through the air. "You have one order. Step aside. We'll deal with the alien girl." The soldier's jaw locked. His chest rose and fell as memories rushed back. Battlefields, comrades dying, the promise that soldiers never betrayed one another. And now here they were, aiming guns at him because of her. Lyra clutched his arm, her chains gone but her fear sharp as ever. "If you give me up, I will hate you forever," she whispered. If you protect me, I will never leave you." The soldier's pulse hammered. He stood between his unit and the cursed girl, his shard of metal nothing compared to their rifles. But he didn't move. "I don't take orders that kill the innocent," he growled. Joran's face hardened. "Then you've chosen your side." The rifles clicked, ready to fire. The soldier shoved Lyra behind him, bracing for the storm. But before a shot rang out, the shadows stirred. They poured out from the broken chains still clinging faintly to Lyra's wrists, spreading across the ground like living smoke. The soldiers hesitated, their eyes widening in fear. "Hold your fire," Joran barked. But his voice carried no confidence now. The soldier looked back at Lyra. Her violet eyes glowed like fire, her lips parting as if she was about to unleash something terrible. "No," he whispered sharply. "Not them. Don't do it." Her gaze locked on his, trembling, torn between fear and rage. The whispers pressed against her mind, begging her to strike. She wanted to obey him, but the shadows wanted blood. Joran raised his hand. "Last chance, soldier. Step away, or we'll put you down with her." The air grew thick, heavy, filled with the hiss of whispers only Lyra and the soldier could hear. He knew one wrong move would mean war not against aliens, but against his own people. And for the first time, the soldier realized the true battle was no longer between him and the hunters. It was between him and his own brothers. The standoff stretched like a blade between them. The soldier stood tall, his shard of metal gripped tight, while his unit's rifles glared back like cold eyes in the storm. Lyra's violet glow pulsed at his side, her shadows coiling like restless snakes. Then the sky split open, a fiery roar thundered above as alien ships descended through the storm clouds. Their hulls burned red against the sky, and beams of light cut through the battlefield. The hunters had returned, but not just a few this time. An army, positions. Captain Joran shouted, spinning his rifle upward. The human soldiers scrambled for cover, firing into the night as beams tore through the ground. Explosions lit the air. Dust and fire swallowed the field. The soldier grabbed Lyra's wrist. "Move," he barked, dragging her into the chaos, but Lyra didn't run. She turned her glowing eyes to the descending ships, her voice trembling with something between fear and power. "They've come for me. They'll burn this whole world until they find me." The soldier gritted his teeth. "Then we don't let them." A blast struck the ground near them, throwing dirt and fire high into the air. The soldier shielded Lyra with his body, the heat searing his skin. His ears rang, but he kept his grip on her, pulling her to her feet. Around them, human soldiers fought desperately against the alien swarm. Beams of light carved through men he had once called brothers. Screams mixed with gunfire. The world burned red and black. Lyra clutched his arm. "If I fight, I may lose myself." The soldier looked into her trembling eyes. "Then I'll pull you back. But if you don't fight, we're both dead." For a long second, she froze. Then, slowly, she nodded that her chains were gone. The shadows were hers to command. And now, she unleashed them. Darkness poured from her like a storm. Tendrils lashed out, ripping through the battlefield. Alien hunters screamed as the shadows tore their weapons away and dragged them into the fire. The ground itself seemed to twist beneath her will, cracks spreading where her feet touched. The soldier fought beside her, his shard useless against the machines, but sharp enough against the alien soldiers who tried to break through. Every swing, every strike, was met with her shadows wrapping around his arm, guiding him, protecting him. Together, they moved as one, but each time Lyra struck, her body weakened. Blood trickled from her nose, her breaths coming sharp and ragged. She staggered, and the soldier caught her, holding her upright even as the battle raged. "Stay with me," he growled. Her eyes flickered, dimming. "Every time I use the curse, it eats me. It wants to burn me from the inside." The soldier clenched his jaw. He could feel the whispers too now, pressing against his mind. They told him to give in, to let the shadows consume everything. But he pushed them back, focusing only on her voice. The night burned hotter. Explosions swallowed the horizon. The sky was filled with fire and smoke. Human soldiers and alien hunters fell alike, their blood lost to the storm. Through it all, Lyra's voice whispered to him, fragile but steady. "Master, if I die here, the curse will die with me. Do you understand? You don't need to carry me any longer." The soldier's grip tightened on her shoulders. His voice was sharp, almost angry. "No, you don't get to decide that. You're not my burden, Lyra. You're my fight." Her eyes widened, shimmering with tears. For a moment, the whispers inside her grew quiet. Then another blast struck nearby. The ground collapsed, throwing them both into a pit of fire and rubble. The soldier shielded her with his body as the world roared above them. When the dust cleared, they lay together in the ruins. Lyra's glow flickered weakly, her body limp in his arms. Her voice was a broken whisper against his ear. "Master, I don't want to die yet." "Not while you're still here." The soldier's throat tightened. He pressed his forehead against hers, gripping her hands. "Then don't. Stay alive. With me." Above, the alien ships circled, their weapons charging for another strike. The night was far from over. The firestorm had only just begun. The ruins shook as alien ships circled overhead, their cannons glowing red with power. The battlefield was no longer a place of soldiers and hunters. It was a graveyard burning under a storm of fire. The soldier held Lyra in his arms, her body trembling, her glow fading. She looked at him through half-closed violet eyes, her voice weak but clear. "Leave me. If I die, the curse will die too. You can still escape." The soldier shook his head, fierce and unyielding. "No, I don't run. Not from you. Not from this." He stood, pulling her with him, even as the rubble crumbled beneath his boots. His shard of metal gleamed faintly in the firelight. Against warships and armies, it was nothing, but in his grip, it felt like defiance. The alien ships unleashed their beams. Fire ripped across the ground, scorching the ruins. Human soldiers scattered, some screaming his name, some cursing it. To them, he was already lost betrayer, fool, dead man walking, but he didn't hear them. He only heard her. Lyra clung to him, her chains gone, her power raw and uncontrolled. The whispers inside her screamed for release, demanding blood, demanding destruction. She closed her eyes, fighting them, but her voice broke. "They want me to kill you. They want me to tear you apart. I can't hold them much longer." The soldier gripped her face, forcing her to look at him. His voice cut through the chaos like steel. "Don't listen to them. Listen to me. You're not my curse, Lyra. You're not my slave. You're my partner." Her eyes widened. Tears burned down her glowing cheeks. No one had ever called her that before. Not a weapon. Not a curse. Partner. The whispers faltered. For the first time they went silent. Lyra's voice shook. "If I fight with you, there's no turning back. My life will be tied to yours. If you fall, I fall. If I fall." The soldier's answer came without hesitation. "Then we fall together." The air around them exploded. Shadows surged from her body, but this time they did not rage wild. They bent, curved, and wrapped around the soldier, too, binding them together. His heartbeat merged with hers, their breaths in sync. The curse was no longer just hers. He had taken part of it onto himself. The battlefield changed. The soldier moved, and the shadows moved with him, striking like blades, shielding like armor. Lyra's power no longer burned her alone. It flowed through both of them. Together, they became something new, something neither human nor alien had ever seen. The hunters screamed as the shadows tore through their lines. Alien warships fell from the sky, swallowed by darkness. Even the human soldiers who once aimed their rifles now lowered them. Frozen in awe and terror, Captain Joran watched from a distance, his face pale. "What have you done, soldier?" he whispered. The soldier didn't answer. He and Lyra stood side by side, the battlefield drowned in shadow and flame. For every enemy that came, they struck as one, his blade flashing, her power burning. At last, silence fell. The ships were gone. The hunters were gone. Only the smoke and ash remained. The soldier stood in the ruins, his body aching, his chest heaving. Beside him, Lyra swayed, her glow dimming again. She leaned against him, her voice soft. "Now you are bound to me. You cannot escape. Even if you wanted to." The soldier gave a faint, tired smile. "Good, because I wasn't planning to." Her violet eyes shimmered with something fragile, almost human. For the first time, she let herself smile, not sad, not bitter, but real. But before peace could settle, the ground rumbled again. From the smoke, a deeper voice whispered, not hers, not his, but something older, darker. "The chains are broken. The true master has awakened." Lyra stiffened in terror, her grip tightening on his arm. That voice. It's not the curse. It's something worse. The soldier raised his shard, his eyes narrowing. His body was broken, his soul now chained to hers, but his spirit refused to yield. He stood tall, facing the smoke, the unknown enemy still waiting in the dark. And for the first time, he didn't ask himself if she was a reward, or a curse, or a burden. She was his partner, and whatever came next, they would face it together.